It's in human nature to have fear in them a lot of the time. Especially when they come across a new situation or if it's something they don't really understand. So there was a fear, and the fear was expressed in so many ways. It was expressed through anger, it was expressed through frustration, it was expressed through uncertainty. So there was definitely another element of fear, the fear of the unknown, because there were so many questions, but there were not enough answers as well. So the fear of the unknown lived through the souls of people for a very, very long time to come.
Vakava ja paheni. Siksi hallitus katsoo välttämättömäksi, että vähennämme fyysisiä kontakteja kaikkien käytettävissä olevien ja käyttöön otettavien toimenpiteiden kautta.
Because we do have a pandemic, people are dying, people are getting ill in hundreds of millions.
They were scared to come to the group.
The corona turned my life into a non-life. It turned my life into a, the state of a vegetable, just being able every now and then to pop up my head.
The virus wasn't in Finland yet.
Basically, Corona affected the way we gather, communicate, and what we did also for fun.
We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it. But the pandemic is over. If you notice, no one's wearing masks. Everybody seems to be in pretty good shape. And so I think it's changing, and I think this is a perfect example of it.
I came back from Portugal, and 2 days later, Corona broke up, and the news was devastating. For weeks and months to come, people took it for granted. People still went about their daily lives. For me personally, I did not know what to make of the situation. It was a new situation. There were so many kind of rumors going around. So it took time for things to sink in for me, for the reality that we were facing a deadly pandemic that was about to scare humanity and about to scare the world.
We heard about the pandemic really early on compared to the Finnish society because we have the Chinese-speaking group. And of course, the pandemic already had started in China in the end of 2019. So we heard about it, well, maybe during the Christmas through some news, but it didn't feel very threatening at the time.
The news started reporting about China being, there's a virus from wherever. We didn't know, no one knew, it was just rumor. They were talking about China, and China was on lockdown, and it felt so far away in a way. We didn't think that it would affect everybody like that.
But then when we began our group activities again in January, after the vacation, our Chinese-speaking group members, they were already scared.
It was a new experience because we didn't know how far into the future.
They were scared to come to the group, though they knew that the virus wasn't in Finland yet. And through that we started to feel that maybe this will be a bigger thing for us as well.
I think a lot of people are waiting for the end of the world because there's a lot of religious texts that suggest that, some disease will come and wipe out, everything. So I think a lot of people went there where they were feeling, oh, is this it? People started feeling like they have to fear each other because no one knew what it was and where it was coming from. So the lockdown kind of, I think there was a lot of kind of fear energy surrounding it.
We had to move fast as well, especially when we work with older people who are like risk group of this virus.
It was unknown how long, because it was in small doses. So we thought, oh, it's going to be okay, you know, and then it would be extended a little bit longer, and then it would be a lot more stricter. And so it went in small doses in a way that now it brought a lot of uncertainty.
So there was a lot of worry about health, but we also worried about our people, our members, because we knew that they are foreign language speakers in Finland, and they are kind of already outside of the society or the structures or the services. So we kind of felt for them, and we knew that we had to help them, give them information about what's going on, and kind of try to support them as best we could.
A little over a year ago, I went down with COVID. I first wasn't too worried about, you know, getting it, even though I would be in the age group, obviously. But I didn't see me as a potential target anyway. So eventually, I got it in February of 21. A kind of a influenza type of thing, but not the same than an influenza. The way I remember influenzas is that you have a little bit of everything at the same time. But with the COVID, for me, it was different. I had everything in its order. I had a few hours or a morning that I was shivering, then I had an afternoon that I was sweating.
Covid-19 is actually the disease that is caused by the virus, which we call SARS-CoV-2. And Covid-19 can be many types of diseases. It can be mild, with symptoms that you can take care of at home.
All this was harder than the combined influenza. But after 5 days it was eventually gone, or so I thought. But then after a couple of weeks I noticed that I wasn't getting well anymore. I wasn't getting fit anymore.
But in the worst case scenario, it takes you to the hospital. It may take you to the intensive care unit. And really the worst case scenario is that you die of its complications.
I was actually getting more and more sleepy, and then I guess connected with being more sleepy, I got more lazy. I stayed more at home, I ate more, so I gained weight, and until eventually in winter, in the last winter, like I was basically, I was a wreck. I was totally overweight. I was always sleeping.
COVID-19 is 10 times more serious than influenza. And the reason why that is so is that we are completely naive to the virus, that none of us naturally has got protection against it.
There have people that disease during this like 2-year pandemic, but from other reasons. But it still struck like to the group who loses a member. It's hard because they cannot come together and kind of grieve together and memorize the person who's gone. But then they just have to stay home and be in their own head in a way. So there has been these things. During the COVID and during all the restrictions and the social isolation, I think that there has been more illnesses and more severe illnesses other than COVID. But maybe because the pressures and the anxiety and the social isolation, I think that affects more the older population, which should be moving around and should be going to places.
are kind of prepared to crisis, but still every crisis comes a little bit a surprise. For myself, of course, it was a surprise. I started working mostly from home, and it was a little bit lonely. Also, I came to Red Cross turning the pandemic, so that was also a weird experience.
My work was moved from the office and from the hospitals totally to home, and also the biggest effect in the beginning was that kids also came to home from school for a few months. So I was working at home doing my work, and also for kids, school kids going to school at home.
Well, of course I worked at home, and like for like the business that I run, the diversity consulting, it wasn't all that bad. It went actually surprisingly well. We had just started the company with a partner, so we were not too much dependent on some old ways yet. So it was kind of easy for us to, to adapt to the new situation. We also got a little help from Business Finland.
That was around the time in 2021 that the first economic recession in the United States only affecting women happened. That actually there was still a lot of, well, first of all, it was a lot of women-dominated industries where the jobs were lost. But then even in the other industries, it was the women who were quitting. So it was the first recession that affected women and especially minorities. And then I had a couple of like speaking opportunities booked for that spring. And then I started canceling them. And I was just like, I'm now gonna tell you that, the global situation is not looking that great, so I'm gonna be canceling these, even if you have all of these events. So I had started, doing crazy things like buying a lot of soap, which I normally don't do, and just like oh, okay, everybody's kind of doing, like I could see these, things happening, like okay, maybe we should get prepared if something happens. And
I even bought one bicycle with toilet paper because someone was selling a bicycle close to me, that they said that okay, just bring me one package of toilet paper, and I got a bicycle for like 10 rolls of toilet paper. So it was a funny thing that this toilet paper crisis came with Corona. The lockdown was, let's say, not nice, just to keep kids and all the life at home, that you can't go anywhere. And just, even though if I put kids to play outside, it is like, can I do this? Because am I a bad person that I just say to my kids that go outside? That before that, all the work was done in the office and you have to go there or in the hospital. And now everything was just at home, and it was totally a new situation. That also, before that, kids were not involved in working life. But now when I was working, kids were at home too. So in the meetings, I could have kids that came already from school. So they came somehow visible in the working life.
And the first spring, people were still like, okay, that was just like, okay, maybe it's just this spring, maybe it's just the summer. And then once the autumn and fall started,
all the communication went online, or mainly. So we were not even allowed to visit the office or hospitals. The situation changed, that these online services started to grow. My work changed to work online.
In my situation, it was an eye-opener for me because it gave me the ability to discover even more about myself. One of the biggest areas of awareness you can ever learn in life is to learn more about who you are. And we walk around every day. A lot of people don't really know who they are. So that period itself, I had the silence gave me strength. It made me more creative. I remember the first lockdown, I made more money than I've ever made in my life for my bedroom. It was an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener into me and what gives me peace. So I enjoyed it because it gave me the quiet moments to question myself, question my present moments, and question my sense of purpose and where I was going to, as well as what makes me happy or what makes us happy. Do we always have to rely on things outside to give us this inner peace? Moments of reflections like this teach us more about who we are as a people.
When we started the project, we were working with 20 multilingual organizations,
which we coordinate to do COVID-19 communications. There's big and small organizations involved, and we try to reach through the organizations, the target groups, to do the multilingual COVID-19 communications and to impact people's health behaviors.
And the purpose was to produce target information because organization diverse in terms of how long they have been working as an organization, how well they are known, how many volunteers they have. So there were different kind of organization.
Moniheli, one the biggest Suomen venäjänkielisten keskusjärjestö, and Afrofinns. Then we have really small ones, like maybe 1 or 2 people working there. So the aid we gave to these organizations varied depending on what were the needs of the organization.
To begin with, we start to evaluate what are the capacity, how in what time frame can we work on, and what are the information needed.
We provide training and resources to do these communications, also to spread the material organizations already have, and also to produce new materials.
We knew when we had to close our doors, we knew that there are people who we cannot reach because we work with older people. They might not use very sufficiently different kind of apps.
We used some video programs through satellite TV, various chat platforms like
WhatsApp and WeChat are the main applications that we could use, and we could talk to them through that.
Different social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram, and then we also had leaflets, printed material,
THL, and then through these networks that we have with other NGO organizations, and from then the Red Cross coordination network, also from that then later on.
The corona information was changing also rapidly, so it was really important to work throughout the project with the multilingual organization.
We reached out to some networks that Red Cross already had, and we got some connections through the DHL task force, COVID-19 task force. And then we also just asked around and found these organizations that are interested to do this kind of collaborations. And then we just put up a new network for organizations for this project. And then we had these monthly meetings, and it started from there that organizations they wanted to do their media or communications projects, and then we helped them to do that.
Yeah, it was also important to collaborate with officials so that everybody knows what everybody's doing. So to kind of generate the information through us, and also to spread the information to the target groups.
For this project, the DHL was the most important part. They kind of needed this project to help them and to help the other organizations also. So we had a really, really, really good collaboration with them.
We try to give information like what we learned from the Finnish media and news, we tried to kind of translate that and give it to our older members. And there was, in the beginning, there was no knowledge in these different languages that we have, but only in Finnish, Swedish and English. So we kind of tried to give out as much of information as possible, and also kind of calm down, because in the beginning we also saw that older people were kind of put in social isolation straight away. And then there was just a lot of information, new information and news all the time. So we also tried to calm things down a little for them. And I think cooperation with other organizations helped out because, well, not in the beginning, there was a little bit chaotic with the information, but then when time went forward, it was kind of easier to also use different materials from other organizations and not kind of do everything by ourselves. So that's the main thing we did. We took the best kind of materials that were already translated and then kind of spread them around and also talked with our members.
The Minister of Economic Affairs and Employment in Finland, so they created this partnership platform where you can just put all the materials and all other organizations can see what you have done already. So that has been also really good. We did get to know people from other organizations and their experience, and also we had to hear in Red Cross say that okay, things are maybe not in that way that you were thinking before the project, that we can't just translate things to other languages and that's it. We have to listen to target groups, what channels they use, what kind of communications they use, and then do it their way. And this was quite a new idea to many people and many officials. So, but when we figured that out, then it went quite smoothly. Some organizations started right away doing their own things, and some of them took some time to think about what they want to do and what kind of resources they have.
We had really a good experience, and I think because the Finnish Red Cross is known, so that was a good positive thing, and I think the collaboration with the organization has been really good. I think their assets, as they have a direct link to the target population, they have the information that is needed. They can spread the information through different channels. So it's really a huge asset that needs to be also in the future used when there are some crises or when we want to give information. Overall, I think we have also some challenges because, as I said before, there were challenges on the changes of information. So as we went along, there were new data, new information about the corona itself, how it presents within the population, but also the corona vaccination.
The vaccination part is, it was a personal choice, naturally. I think the people who felt that they didn't want to take it, it was valid. If you feel that you don't want to introduce something new to your body, that you're feeling insecure about it, I think that is valid. And for the people who felt that they were happy to go to trust the process, also is valid. So I think, you know, life is about that balance. Some people will choose something, others will not choose, but I don't think the people who refused to or who chose not to vaccinate should be by any means be seen as anything, or those who chose to vaccinate. I think because there was these two sides where people were now arguing about, if you're not vaccinated, we can't be friends, and so on. And so, but I think for everyone who chooses to vaccinate, that's valid. And if the other person chooses not to, that is also valid, and it should be respected.
The reaction in the UK, like I said earlier, people took it as a pinch of salt for a very, very long time, even when it got serious and even when there was a virus really about town. For instance, people were not wearing masks for a very, very long time. And even when we had our lockdowns, which was by the government, people still took it as a pinch of salt. And maybe compared to many Scandinavian countries, there was more kind of like order and efficiency in many of the Scandinavian countries. I remember at some point in time, even Sweden had a hold of the situation itself. So yes, it was something people took for granted for a very long time.
I think everybody was driven, and I think, you know, like many people blamed the government for, you know, overdoing this or overdoing that, or giving too much dictate on that or that. I feel like nobody did anything evil on purpose or bad on purpose, but I think everybody was like somehow driven. Everybody was afraid to make a mistake, and so there was a lot of peer pressure and a lot of panic, and you know, personally, you know, I think people should not be made scared so much all the time. Like, I feel like now looking back, you know, first every morning we had the news about what did President Trump do, then we had 2 years of what happened to the COVID last night, and now we have like what did Putin do last night. So I think if people are made to live in a panic, I mean, for the media it's great, but they can sell a lot of newspapers and news, but I think people are not made to be kept in a panic like that for such a long time.
I think Corona made us all think about the now, the future, what we are bringing to the table, what it is that we're here for. So it kind of jolted us back into, oh my goodness, so we could have freedom today and then tomorrow we don't. So we understood that actually almost being together was a privilege.
It's easier now to maybe evaluate the working environment, so you can work also at home and as efficiently as in the office.
Well, it changed the working life, I think, forever. I am still working at home mostly, but now I'm enjoying that I can go and meet people and I can go to hobbies and kids can start their hobbies again. But still, I think that many of the styles how we work, we can more think that can we do this just online, or we don't need to fly to other countries or just to travel far. That there are so many things that we can do just at home office. But for me, it is now so much more nicer that I can go for lunch with these people that I work with, and I can see people face to face, and it's okay. I was not afraid of Corona if I get it. It was not the scary thing, but of course I wanted to protect the other people.
We can say there are some good things that has come out from the Corona. We are more aware now that people that are vulnerable, the information doesn't reach them timely. So we have learned the channels that are available. So we know that there are more different channels that we can reach people. There is a need for multilingual communication, and also in different parts of, in different aspects. So it's not only health, but also in terms of employment. We need to find ways of communicating the right way so that people do understand.
I think also in when we talk about officials and their communications, it's really good to understand that they have really strict levels and rules. The organizations are more free to develop these messages and to say it more naturally that people can understand and more clearly. So it's really important to have these networks and to keep them alive, because when the next crisis comes, we don't have to start from the scratch. We can already use the networks we have already built.
I think the pandemic and everything that had to do with it has caused people to get more sick, and the functional ability, the mental health, everything has gone worse, I think, than usually. But now we're trying to kind of come to the surface again, and to sort of help out that people would feel better. As a society and as a nation, we need to build the resilience of our people. But now we also need to take care of the most vulnerable people in the society, because we hadn't, and we don't do that yet. We have good laws, but the implementation and the actual work we do with people in the public sector, in services, it's not equal for everyone. It's not easy for everyone to get services. We just have this idea that everyone will get services as they need, but that doesn't work for everyone. So we really need to look at the people who are not receiving enough services. I think that in the Red Cross coordinated network, we also have had the discussion that we should have this network ongoing all the time. If there is a crisis or not, we need to have cooperation.
Yeah, I think we introduced many organizations to each other, and now they can make things together without us anymore there. So I think this is really good. And the other thing,
I think once we move further in the future, I think it will become more relevant that organizations also need to work with each other. So everyone doesn't have to do everything from the scratch all by themselves. So they can also combine their strength and maybe that way do more valuable work that they are doing. Official, they have the accurate and up-to-date information about the topic, the corona vaccination. They have the data, and then also us who are coordinating the project. So to link all these three parties and to really bring up the targeted information, it was really useful. And I think also the target population could receive the information even better, because they know that the information provided are up to date. So this kind of collaboration in the future is also really important.
Obviously there is a lot of things to be learned, and there's obviously a lot of things that you know, the knowledge that is already there, you know, and there's also a lot of ways that people can live healthy. You know, those kind of lessons we can take whatever the future virus would be, you know, like we don't need to go back to there where people go to work when they are, you know, coughing and sneezing or things like that, you know, and then that will already help slowing the next virus down a little bit. But most of all, I think we really should rethink the way we live. We still don't know what triggered the COVID originally. Was it the bat in the cave, or the bat on the market, or the laboratory that leaked some virus? But the bottom line of all these three cases, either one, is the same. You know, for us humans, there's places that we don't belong. There's things that we shouldn't mess with. You know, humans don't need to put their noses into everything. They don't need to occupy every space on this planet. And, you know, if there's bat caves where you have bats and you know that there's a lot of virus that we don't belong to human, then let the caves be. Let the bats be. We don't need to be everywhere, you know. And that's my big fear now, that we take a vaccine, we take it as a, you know, like a protective suit that allows us to go into spaces where we don't belong. And, you know, looking at the planet and the other big issue nowadays about what they call climate change or destruction of the planet or hunger or water, you know, water getting short on the planet, that's all part of the same thing. Us humans, we always believe that we have the right to treat the planet however we want. And to me, that's connected. And, you know, and viruses that jumps from animals to human. Why? Because we are interacting with animals, or we are caging animals that we shouldn't and where we shouldn't?
Well, I think it's not just about like they call COVID something like a black swan. It's something like unexpected, something that, unpreparable in a way. So I don't know if we need a better preparedness of something unexpected, if that makes sense. I think we need more preparedness for the everyday life. We need more, having a better business foundations, to begin with. So when something bad happens, we don't need that much maybe government help, or we are not stretched so thin. I think so many entrepreneurs, they were already stretched thin.
As an NGO, we do need resources to be able to do the work we do. And not only year by year by year, but we need to do that all the time. And not only if something happens, the resources come, but it should be like you should have the basis, the groundwork should be good. And then you can build up from that. It's a big societal question how to sort of empower also NGOs that they could help the ones that are vulnerable.